What's the single best way to come up with better sermon content? I mean, it's a complex question, right? Like, face it, if you're preaching year after year, it's exhilarating and it's exhausting. And one of the biggest challenges you probably have is coming up with fresh ideas, fresh content, because it's the same audience every week, right? Year after year. So you got the text selected, you've worked through the commentaries, but you're blanking when it comes to illustrations, right? Or story that'll open the message. And then a story hits you, and halfway into writing it down, you realize, used that before, can't do it again, right? So if you're like a lot of preachers, then it's Saturday night and the clock is ticking fast. Now, I get it, okay? AI is there to help, and you can watch other sermons, or you can head on over to a website and see what somebody else did. But you only got a day or two left before Sunday, and too many preachers keep coming up short. The best part, you get to start this all over again on Monday for the next Sunday, right? So in light of all that, what's the number one sermon prep secret for better sermon content? That's what I'm sharing with you in this video. Let's go. So for me, the answer has been to start early, like start weeks in advance for real. And by that, I definitely don't mean like start on a Saturday. By early, I don't even mean Monday, okay? It's great if you can get started on Monday. Monday is better than starting your sermon for Sunday on Saturday night, okay? Way too many Saturday night specials out there. But the number one sermon prep secret is to start planning your messages weeks or even months in advance. Now, before you click off the video and you get overwhelmed, the easiest way, I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? Easiest way is to open up a Google Doc or maybe Evernote or even notes on your phone, whatever you use to store ideas, where you can start outlining messages in series weeks or months in advance. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be particularly well thought through. You just have to have an idea. You know, if it's April and you're thinking ahead, okay, in June, what do I want to teach on? You just got to have a file open for that and start collecting ideas. So you want to do that well in advance of the Sunday you're going to deliver the message. What happens then, if you start getting into this pattern, is you've got an open file for each upcoming message that you can collect things in. So, for example, let's get really practical. If you know in April that you're going to be preaching on relationships, in June, you can start collecting stories. Maybe you just have like relationships written down. And then all of a sudden you start to look for relational content. You see an article online, you watch a video, you see a movie, you talk to a friend, you start collecting stories, illustrations, data, ideas. And suddenly you've got a file built like months in advance for your June series. Or if you know that a few months down the road, you're going to be talking about money, suddenly you've opened up a file on finance and you're going to put any anecdotes, funny stories, articles, clips, links into your money file series. You got it? Now, what you need to do is lather, rinse, repeat. That just becomes your new operating system. Now, here's why this helps, okay? The brain is a complex thing. The most complex thing, actually, scientists say about human anatomy and in the universe is actually our brain, and it has both limits and extraordinary abilities. So if you know you're going to be teaching on a half dozen passages, maybe it's a passage, you're going to talk on the book of James or something like that, or topics in the next few months, your brain, if you acknowledge that in advance, will start scanning for information to collect for those topics. Now, think about this. You already know this pattern, okay? Say you need to buy a new car. Because you realize this, you start paying attention to different vehicles on the road. And because you're currently shopping for an SUV, your brain notices a billboard. You pass 1,000 billboards, a billboard advertising an SUV sale that ends in 2 weeks. Now, normally, if you're not shopping for an SUV, you're going to drive right past all the traffic and the billboard. It doesn't even register, right? You're not paying attention. But since SUVs are currently important to you, your brain subconsciously flags this information as relevant, brings it to your conscious attention. This is like a scientific thing, okay? You might even notice your friend just bought a new Toyota. So you start asking questions. How do you like it? How does it run? How is it on gas, right? You catch yourself reading car review articles you'd normally scroll past. You even start noticing specific models of cars in TV commercials. So here's the principle. Once something has your attention, you start to process information about that topic differently. So the brain science behind this, are you ready for this, is actually called the reticular activating system in your brain at work, or RAS for short, reticular activating system. And the RAS, it's the way God designed us, is a network of neurons in the brain that filters incoming information based on what you deem to be important. If you're having a baby, right? First time, what are you paying attention to? All the new parents out there, all the babies, strollers, stuff like that, okay? So similarly, by deciding on sermon topics in advance, you're effectively priming your RAS to be more attentive to relevant information in your daily life. As one of my good friends puts it, when you know ahead of time what you're going to be talking about, you literally trip over illustrations every day, all right? You saw something, your daughter said something in the kitchen, somebody said something in the office, you saw something online. I mean, he's not wrong because you're already scanning for that information. So pastors who start the week ahead and give themselves anywhere from like 1 to 7 days to collect insights are missing out on this. But pastors who start weeks or months earlier have a huge advantage. It's a way of making sure you never start the week of with a truly blank page again. So you've already activated your RAS, but there is a second brain benefit that starts when you start working ahead. And it's a form of what they call spaced repetition. It's a technique that involves spacing learning moments out over time to optimize your memory retention, right? So by starting early and using a collection system for messages, you're embedding those ideas in your brain. If you're like, oh, that's a funny story, and you write it down, and you do that 2 months in advance or 2 weeks in advance, your brain has already stored it. So that's going to lead to better and better recall and familiarity when you deliver your message. Now, I didn't know the brain science behind this when I started using this method a couple of decades ago. I just felt the scramble of trying to get a message together, on a Saturday for Sunday and then on a Thursday for Sunday. And I didn't want to live that way. It was eating away at my family life, my sanity, and everything else. What made this even better for me was when I got far enough ahead to have a written series done before I started the first message. In other words, entire series is complete before message 1 is delivered. Not only then do I have the advantage of already having ideas stored for the series and everything finished, but because you're done in advance, your message starts to simmer even longer. Then you get a bonus 1 to 4 weeks to collect even better insights, anecdotes, and stories, because the message is pretty much final. It sits in your memory so that you're going to deliver it a whole lot better. And then maybe on week 3 in the middle of the series, you have a sense of the flow of the series and everything. And then you find the perfect illustration for the final week because you already know where you're going. So it's kind of cool because everything gets better when you work ahead. And you don't have the week-to-week pressure because if you get sick or there's a funeral or something like that, hey, message number 3 in this series is already in the can and it's good. So what do? I mean, you can try to figure this out on your own. And if you do, you'll probably see some real improvement over time, but I'd love to help you. And if you want a proven plan to get ahead in your sermon prep, I've got a program called The Art of Preaching, and it's going to help. It's helped thousands of preachers. I actually teach how to speak without using notes. I show you how to develop a killer bottom line. You can use the system to get way ahead. It's step by step. Mark Clark and I teach it together. And if you're ready to stop scrambling and start preaching with confidence, check it out by clicking the link in the description of this video. We'd love to help you on a much deeper level. So, in conclusion, what is the single best way to come up with a better sermon week after week after week after week? Start early. Okay, so here's my challenge to you. Next time you have a Sunday off, because you're probably still thinking, well, how? Well, next time you have a Sunday off or you finish a message early, maybe you actually got it done on Tuesday, okay? Don't coast, all right? Just open the document that you've got for your sermon series and start planning the next one. If you're done early, just start working on the following week. And that has cumulative benefits. Soon you can be a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, 3 weeks ahead, or even a month ahead. You're going to be shocked at how much this helps. You're going to be way more relaxed. You'll get your nights back with your family, and your congregation and your family is going to notice the difference too.